the real piece is where I found something that I've always had deep within me throughout my entire life, and I think everyone does. It's called tenacity. And literally, when I'm ready to get my knuckle tats like you, tenacity would be there. I'll also put it on my lip right here. It'll be tenacity. If I was going to get on my neck, it'd be fucking tenacity. Tenacity is my word, and tenacity is that fire. Tenacity is what you need to harness when you are at your lowest to pull you up. So when I was at the bottom of that well, man, and I needed to be pulled up, it was that fire, it was that tenacity. And now I've taken that tenacity and I use it to drive my business forward. So tenacity is something that you could throttle up and throttle down, but you have to know where to find it inside so you could regulate it.
What's going on, bro? Good to meet you.
I love that energy. Look at that.
Big Adam.
What's happening, dude?
Bro, I'm super stoked, man. This is great.
You got my energy level up. Let's get into it, man. It's interesting too, because I've, I'm sure you did your research and everything, but I'm approaching year 5 now. And there's a lot of things I talk on a lot of podcasts, but I don't go that deep on on the me stuff. Dude, there's breakdowns. Dude, like spinning play. Let's get into it, man. I got a bunch to talk about. I'm also going to throw a couple of curveballs at you that I'm not going to tell you in advance. Just keep on your feet.
Awesome. EQ Gangsters. I am with this super dude, Adam Posner. He's a connecting opportunity to talent, founder and president of the NHP Talent Group, co-founder at Probably Nothing Talent, top global career podcaster, talent guy, marketer, recruiter. This guy is the bee's knees, the real deal Holyfield. Super stoked to get to know Big Adam. Adam, tell us about yourself, brother.
Damn, Noble. Thank you. First and foremost, thank you so much for having me, man. I'm excited to be on your show. I'm excited to meet your audience and to chop it up around all things EQ. So let's get to it. So I know your audience is going to probably look me up, Google me, see what's going on out there. First and foremost, there's a bunch of Adam Posners out there. There's my buddy Adam Posner down in Australia. Got my Adam Posner in the UK. So make sure you find the US-based Adam Posner. But as we like to say here, long story long here in New York City. So I'm going to give you the quick rundown for your audience. We'll get this out of the way. Born and raised New Yorker, something I am extremely proud of. I take a lot of pride in being a Brooklynite, something that really helped actually define who I am, because I think growing up in Brooklyn in a very diverse neighborhood, it gives you that from an early age, right? Like I don't see colors. In the same time, I grew up around with a lot of fucking racist ass freaking relatives. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of like different worlds coming at you. But, I knew when I was in college, even growing up in high school, that marketing and sales was in my blood. I participated in business competitions in high school, went on to college, studied advertising and marketing there, had some amazing internships, and I jumped right into the world of advertising in New York City. So the first 15 years of my career were spent working at various ad agencies, working client side at American Express, SiriusXM, for 5 years during the early days of Howard Stern, which is an incredible influence on me as a podcaster. That's a story for another time. And then finally, I found myself in 2014 over at VaynerMedia, working for the great Gary Vaynerchuk, which I thought was my holy grail. I thought it was my forever job, Noble, and it turned out not to be. The grass was not greener on the other side. And due to circumstances that were in my control and due to circumstances that were out of my control, I ended up losing my job. And it was on that day, April 1st, 2015, the day I got let go. I sat with Gary and he gave me the most important piece of advice I ever received, which will work great for later in this show, is stop focusing on your weaknesses and double down on your strengths. Stop focusing on the things that you suck at this stage at 35 years old, right? Like when you're young in school, you suck at math, you go for extra help. You're not doing well in science, you get a tutor. But at 35 years old, am I going to go back and fix all these things I mean not be great at? Or do I say, hey, what am I good at? I'm good at what we're doing right now. I'm a good communicator. I'm a connector. I'm a freaking people person in the realest sense. And Gary goes, that's interesting. He's like, well, what do you think else you could do? And I'm like, well, one of my good buddies is a finance recruiter. And before I could even finish what I was about to say, Noble, Gary goes, dude, you'd be a fucking amazing recruiter. And I went off on this journey of discovery. But before I found my success, before I found my world, there was a really dark place that I went to get there. And that was my transformation. And I think that would be a good point to pause and get into it.
Love it, dude. That's amazing story. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, what was that dark story, that dark journey, that dark chapter? What was that like? How long did it last? How did you get into it? How did you get out of it?
Yeah, and I really swear by this quote that the strongest foundation to build upon is rock bottom. But I didn't know it at the time, and I was thrown down into a bottom of a well of emotions. I never once contemplated hurting myself, but there was dark moments that got me really close to that because I questioned my worth, I questioned my value, I questioned my ability, my own abilities and my abilities, the fear of being able to provide for my family. I mean, dude, we literally just bought a house out in suburban Long Island 6 months before I got let go. And I'm like, shit, how am I going to afford this? What kind of example am I going to set for my daughter? And this is before my son was born. Am I disappointing my wife, my friends, my family? Luckily for me, my wife is my rock, and she knows that whatever I do, I'll always bounce back. So um, those first couple of weeks afterwards were dark. They were periods of me. It was extreme euphoria of like an excitement of like, oh my God, maybe I'm going to go into recruiting. I started having phone calls and coffee meetings with other recruiters that I've worked with before and understanding the business. And then the fear of like, holy shit, 35 years old, I'm going to have to start a new career like a rookie, right? Like rookie ball. I'm going to have to go in and learn a new career. That was scary. That was scary. And I had to build up that fortitude to say, you know what, this is what I'm doing. I'm going to go down this path. I'm going to give it my all. And I'm going to become a recruiter. And someone said to me, I think it was one of my friends, well, what's your backup plan? And literally a week before that, I saw this video clip, a famous clip of Arnold, I think it was Arnold Schwarzenegger, who said why you should never have a plan B. Because a plan B means two things. One, you're setting yourself up to be prepared for fail. And otherwise, you're taking your energy from putting it all into your primary plan. And I never looked back on that. That was the path that I was going on. There was no backup plan. Now, don't get me wrong. In the early like week or two, there was thoughts of like, oh, maybe, and this is no offense to anybody who drives an Uber or works at Home Depot or Lowe's or anything, but I'm like, I like working with my hands. Maybe I'll go to Home Depot or Lowe's and I'll work my way up. And I'm sure, with my background, I'll be a manager. It'll be a decent, good salary, good benefits. I'll get tons of free fucking lumber and sheetrock, whatever I need, right? But that's not what I wanted to do. And I put all my energy into it. But the real piece is where I found something that I've always had deep within me throughout my entire life. And I think everyone does. It's called tenacity. And literally when I'm ready to get my knuckle tats like you, tenacity would be there. I'll put it on my lip right here. It'll be tenacity. If I was going to get on my neck, it'd be fucking tenacity. Tenacity is my word. And tenacity is that fire. Tenacity is what you need to harness when you are at your lowest to pull you up. So when I was at the bottom of that well, man, and I needed to be pulled up, it was that fire, it was that tenacity. And now I've taken that tenacity and I use it to drive my business forward. So tenacity is something that you could throttle up and throttle down, but you have to know where to find it inside so you could regulate it.
Okay, so
that was a lot there. Sorry.
No, that was awesome. That was great. So where did the tenacity come from, and how early in your life did you recognize it?
That's a good question, because I think there's times in my life when I look back and I'm like, damn, I wish I had that ability now to harness it. But the real tenacity came. I always had it, and I look back on moments in my life when I've had to step up, step into something. There was definitely moments in my life when I had to, put on my big boy pants, as they like to say. I think that's a big part of it. When you have to defend your word, defend your honor, there's moments of tenacity. But I think the tenacity throttle really kicked in was when, I got into recruiting and I worked for a search firm. And it was the first time in my life I went from a salaried job to a commission-based job. And until you have to live on eating what you kill and relying on that, you don't know what it's like. And this is no offense to anybody and everyone out there who works the 9 to 5 and gets a paycheck, because there's something for everybody there, and that's perfectly cool and that's fine. But for me, I'm like, damn, the only way I'm going to make money in this world is if I actually create the opportunities. And I think that tapped into the tenacity engine to drive the business element of that forward, which then ergo brought out more of my personality and brought out more of my strengths. So it was this perfect storm that literally changed my life. So 2.5 years into working at search firms, which I 100% needed to do because I needed to learn how to be a recruiter. I had to learn the art and science of recruiting. 2.5 years in, I said, you know what? I got this. I got this. It's time for me to go out on my own. I'm done working for other people. I'm done with giving half my commission to the house. And that's when I went out and I launched NHP Talent Group, which are my daughter's initials, Nina Harrison Posner. And this right here, this freaking solar eclipse behind me that I look at every single day, literally, nice eclipse going on back there. This is what drives me. Her and her brother are what drive me and keep that tenacity engine flying high, my man.
Love it. That is so powerful because I'm even going back to that dark spot.
Yeah,
So
man. Let's go.
so how long did that dark phase last? You said was it a couple weeks?
Well, let me kind of take a backtrack into that where it gets even worse. And I've only talked about this, maybe 1 or 2 times. So that was April. I spent the first couple of weeks, we're talking May, and then it was, I started having conversations, getting into things, and I finally found a search firm that I was ready to align with in early June, called Onward Search, and I was ready to go. I'm like, all right, this is going to be great. And then on June 18th, 2015, on my daughter's birthday, there was a terrible accident where my mother, there's a whole other thing, accidentally spilled a cup of scalding hot tea on my 3-year-old daughter's lap. And that was PTSD central, man. And it was, I think about it all the time. I think about it every year. There's days I think about it, of just that moment, that day. And that brought me back down into the well. Like, I finally just got myself up. I was excited for this. And then this happened. And not only, my daughter's resilient as fuck. And that whole experience was, thank God for the doctors and everything. And they did an incredible experimental skin graft on her legs, and she's perfectly fine. She's turning 10 soon, and you couldn't even, nothing. She's perfectly fine. But I also had to deal with my mom, who was, how does a grandma live with that, or a parent, that's, and that brought me down. And there was a moment in the parking lot, I questioned, why, you see a kid get hurt innocent, yeah, that was bad, man. And that was another moment where I was like, shit, let's dig down deep. I gotta be strong for everybody here. So I call those my calluses. And I think that's something that everyone needs to have. And I think it really plays into emotional intelligence, the EQ side of it too. You have to have calluses, because those calluses protect you. They protect you.
How do you just kind of hearing and watching you kind of express that story, which again, thank you. And I can't imagine, dude, as a dad with a daughter, I cannot imagine, dude, the amount of emotions and trauma that, oh, just can't even imagine.
Yeah.
How do you process your emotions, Adam?
I take after my dad. We're criers. We're emotional. I don't hide my emotions. My wife is the opposite. My wife is, born in Minsk, Belarus, hardcore Russian family, man. She doesn't, it's hard for her to show emotion. So we're like the yin and yang of the emotional spectrum. I let it out. I love a good cry. It happens to me. I get emotional. Songs trigger me. Little things, memories trigger me. I am very emotionally sensitive. It doesn't take a lot to get me going. And I think that's beautiful and natural. And I'm not scared of it. And I cry with my dudes. We bro it out. I've done men's work where we very thoroughly open our emotions, because that's healthy. If you keep shit inside, that's when it bottles up and becomes a problem. That's when you take things out on your family and friends and things closest to you. So you need to learn how to release. And whatever your release is, you need to go to the shooting range. You need to go to the gym and punch a shit out of a bag. Whatever you need to do, smoke that fucking joint, drink that bourbon. I don't judge you. As long as you don't go home and beat your wife or your kids, I don't give a shit. If you do what you need to do, keep your shit under control, but have that release.
Awesome. How self-aware are you?
Here we go. So after I got let go, I had my self-awareness epiphany. And this is really where it's at, because I went through so much of my life thinking who I was, and thinking I was better than my weaknesses, and thinking that I was going to be able to fake it till I make it in certain areas. But when the rubber hit the road, man, I said, you know what? It's time to stop focusing on all these things, going back to it, that I suck at. What's the point? What's the point of trying to be a better, account director? There was parts that I was great at. I excel at client management, but there was a lot of those interpersonal pieces within working at Vayner and other roles that weren't my strengths. So it was this moment of literally my self-awareness epiphany, where I said, okay, Who am I? What am I doing? And really that opened up this vulnerability third eye. And I think that was really the biggest thing where I said, okay, now I can have an honest conversation with myself in every situation. And it was a massive game changer for me. It was maturity. It was growing up. It was recognizing who I am. And I literally made a 180 turn in my professional and personal life because of that moment. I say this all the time. Listen, sometimes you have to hit rock bottom. And in that moment, obviously, it's the end of the world. You don't know what the fuck's going on. It's the worst time of your life. Of course, you don't know it. And there's people that can climb up and they see the top of the mountain and they know how to freaking get their way up there and they figure it out and they claw and hack and they make it up there. And other people don't. And some people will not make it because that's just the way fucking life is, man. And I was not going to be one of those people. That's not who I am.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and one of the comments that you made is, you're talking about emotions and stuff, is that you are not afraid of your emotions. And I think for me, being emotionally clueless most of my life,
Yeah.
when I went to counseling and the counselor's like, "Hey, Noble, let me introduce you to two revolutionary new concepts called feelings and emotions." And I was like, "What are you talking about, bro?" You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
so for me, I was terrified at that time, 4 years ago. I was terrified of emotions, dude. I grew up. Yeah. Anyway, so it's super cool to hear you say that you have not been afraid of your emotions and kind of your epiphany journey. It's fascinating how life, how God uses those face plants, right?
Right.
Life's face plants, to kind of like, okay, crap. Let me do a little evaluation here and assessment with where I'm at. How based on what you've been through, and you've been through a lot and have really done a lot of, it sounds like you've done a lot of work like that. When you got fired at 35 years old, it sounds like, man, that was a huge life pivotal moment for
It
you.
was. It was quintessential. I mean, that was a major chapter of my book. But there's another concept that I think is really important to talk about here. We talk about EQ, we talk about emotional intelligence, but there was a recent concept that was introduced to me, Noble, by my mentor in the world of recruiting and business and life, Joe Mullings, who is, his story alone is just incredible. I urge everyone to look up Joe. Fascinating backstory, 30-year med tech recruiting empire, and he's just a man's man. I'll leave it at that. He's the man. I was down in South Florida at his studio back in February, and he brought up this concept of emotional agility instead of empathy. And I want to get into this for a moment here because I think that people either misunderstand. There's nothing wrong. I mean, empathy is a beautiful, incredible thing. But when you are connecting with another human being and you are listening to them and you are being truly empathetic, you're giving them all of your energy. You are getting to their level so you could relate with them, so you could guide them, so you could be with them, so you could console them or whatever they're going through. But when you go full empathetic, full spectrum on that, you're draining all your own energy and you don't have anything left in the tank for yourself. So A, you're hurting yourself potentially. And B, you're not having the energy to help that person as best as possible. So this concept of emotional agility, where you could teeter up and teeter down your emotional needs for that other person or situation based on the circumstances of what's happening there. So I've been incorporating that a lot more into these types of conversations, this idea of emotional agility. And I think that takes a lot of self-awareness. And it takes somebody who is a true listener. And that wasn't always easy for me. I used to fucking overtalk everybody. First 20 episodes of my podcast, I listened to myself. I'm like, shut the fuck up, Adam. Let the guest talk. And I had another epiphany then when my good friend, Janny, who's a media coach, said to me, Adam, shut the fuck up. Listen to the guest. Right. And that changed my whole podcast. That changed my business. That changed how I listen to people. So you have these moments in life where, you need to listen. And that goes back to emotional agility. How you could be, what is the best way I could support this person that is asking for my help?
Huge. Love it.
Huge.
Love it.
So it's not saying, I'm not canceling empathy by any means whatsoever. The complete opposite of that. I'm just saying that there's a level in between called emotional agility to flex up and down.
Well, and I think, I think it takes emotional agility to be empathetic, right? And to know okay, because sometimes for me, I'm a recovering people pleaser addict.
Yep.
For me, I would, my empathy, because I had no emotional awareness or emotional self-regulation, I would go beyond empathy, like you were saying, into like, man, I was emotionally needy, emotionally codependent, toxic positivity, all this stuff. So the ability of having, now that I'm emotionally healthier, now I can be more emotionally
Yep.
agile, and I can have a healthy amount of empathy and not get into neediness, right?
There's a big difference.
Huge, yeah, huge
Yeah.
difference. What is your emotional fitness program?
There's zero regimen to that. But one of the important things to me is, I'm having this conversation with my wife. She says that I'm full extrovert, and I think I'm a little bit of an ambivert. I think that there's a good mix when, listen, I couldn't do what I do. I'm a social butterfly. I could go to conferences. I was just down in Miami. I could work a room. I could work an event, and I do it because I think that's my adrenaline and tenacity kicking in. But there's also times I like to be quiet. There's also times I like to be reserved. I thoroughly enjoy time by myself. I have no problem alone. I love traveling alone. I love experiencing things by myself. I have no problem with that. Um, so from a emotional kind of fitness perspective, I think that I need to find time to breathe mentally. I think that's critically important. Whatever you do, ride your bike, go for a walk, whatever it is. And I think the biggest thing for me emotionally, and I mean this very tactically, this is the devil. These phones that we have in our hand are the devil. They cause so many emotions, connection, FOMO, whatever you want to call it. And I need to practice as much as I preach it. You need to put your phone away. You need to park it. You need to be present with the people that are most important in your life and connect with them emotionally, and that'll bring you back to ground.
Love it. How do you recharge, Adam?
I get energized from my friends and my family. I get energized from other people. I feel their energy. I love music of all different types. Ranging from classic rock to, you know, deep house and everything in between, old school hip hop. I mean, I love music. I listen to music all day long. We listen to music all day in my house. We're a music family. My kids have never listened to kids' music, maybe a little bit like on a YouTube clip or anything. But in our house, we play rock, we play hip hop, we play house music because I want my kids to grow up with that the way I did. We didn't really have much of it in my life. And I think that's really what connects you. Music is a vibe. Music is what emotions sound like. That's exactly what it is.
And music, it's so funny because I'm very similar, and I've got a wide range of, I like, there's not
You
there's
go all
there
over.
yeah, that's exactly right. It's tough to find.
We've even got into country. Fucking, I love
Right.
Chris Stapleton, man. Dude, that guy, I'm like, yeah,
Oh,
feelings,
that's right.
feelings.
It's right, bro.
We saw that he's playing. We live 8 minutes away from one of the best music venues, Jones Beach, on the water here, right on the freaking beach. And we saw that Stapleton's playing. And I said to wifey, I'm like, we're gonna wait for last minute tickets. We're gonna keep an eye on the weather. I know they're gonna be expensive, but let's do it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Music and all the different genres evoke different emotions too.
Mm-hmm.
It's fascinating, man, when I put on this tune versus this tune, little Cypress Hill versus
Yeah.
little Simon and Garfunkel,
Oh,
right? It's different. It's different emotions, right?
yeah, they go very different ways. I mean the range is incredible with music too. Like there's times when I need to literally like get myself up and ready. Like I fucking DMX, Wu-Tang Clan. There's a time and a moment for all that stuff too. There's times when I need to be in flow state at work and I'm going through deep house, or if I'm in the car driving, what it needs to be. And then I'll put on something like Tom Petty, which is my heart and my soul. And there's songs of his that just get me in a great spirit. And there's times that bring out other emotions. I mean, that's the beauty of music, man. And when people are like, I'm not into music, I go, how and why? How did you grow up at a house with like nothing? Like what? It just blows my mind, man.
Absolutely.
Where'd you grow up in a bubble?
What does it take to be a master recruiter, to find and develop talent?
It goes back to what the core of this show is. It really is. It's the EQ. Because day one of being a recruiter, I learned the most important lesson, not the science part of it, but it's the art. And the art comes around. You need to understand a candidate's motivation. And it goes with anything in sales. You need to find out what the prospect's motivation is. Why is somebody looking for a new job? Is it money? Is it straight up money? Is there shit going on at home with their spouse? Does their current job suck? Do they need to move? I mean, I could go through a million different things right here. But once you understand someone's motivation, you could best help guide them through the process. So that's number one on the candidate stage. That's what it takes to be a master recruiter. And you have to listen. It goes back to listening, right? It goes back to listening and reading between the lines and understanding context, and also understanding that people are not who we are on paper. We're not just who we are on a resume. We're not just who we are on a LinkedIn. And I love talking to candidates and hearing their stories. That's why I always say to them, when it comes time for them to tell me their story, I say, tell me who you are, what you do best, and what you're looking for in your next move. Tell me who you are, what you do best, and what you're looking for in your next move. And I took that and made that my own kind of thing from what I've heard other people say, but that I literally say that, 10 times a day. And I want people to tell their stories, and I get them prepped on a call in a comfort level to open them up. And I want to hear people's storytelling, because listen, you should be able at a certain stage of your life to be able to tell a story. You should be able to tell your story. You should be able to articulate it. Right. And I'm giving a pass to disabilities, neurodiversity. There's certain things that make it hard, but generally speaking, at this stage of your life, you should be able to tell your fucking story. Pardon my French. Yeah, I was about to say, so that's part one of a recruiter. And then the same thing works for clients, understanding the needs of the business more than just the job specs. What type of personality, and I hate to say culture fit, but culture harmony is going to work in this organization. And you know what? Sometimes it does matter. You really need to understand who the hiring manager is. Who's this person reporting to? Because it's got to have a good chemistry, or at least make sure that you're pushing in the right direction. This times I'm wrong. This times I'm right. But what I want to do is I want to set candidates up for success, and I want to make sure that the clients are set up for success with that hire. It takes work, man. It's not as easy. Everyone thinks it could be a recruiter. Everyone thinks it could be a real estate agent. Not true.
That's tremendous. It takes a lot. You're right. That's all those questions. It takes EQ to ask the questions, and it takes EQ to listen for what like you said, what's being said and what's not being said.
Yep.
And because here's the thing too is well, I don't want to say what I'm about to say, because I want to ask I want to ask the question. What have you learned about people as a recruiter?
I learned that people say what they think you want to hear. And I think that when I hear that, I have a weird spidey sense, man. I've always, and I think it came from being jaded for, the first 15 years of my career, when I was fired, when I lost my job, when I got let go. There was times when it was my own doing, but I kind of built up this weird kind of internal radar for sensing negative energy. And I've also built up from being a lifelong New Yorker. I could smell bullshit a mile away. So you combine those two pieces, and I've been able to use that as a superpower on phone calls, where I could kind of smell between the lines, as I like to say. And I'll ask thought-provoking questions back, And you know what? People talk about career gaps and everything. There's certain times in your life when a career gap is no business to anybody else. Sick relatives, maternity, paternity leave, mental health, whatever that is. But it is kind of important too, if there's a pattern of short tenure jobs, and we're not talking contract jobs, we're talking full-time jobs, is it performance-based? And the reason that I'm allowed to ask those questions is twofold. One, because I've been there before. I was that guy who got fired a couple of times in a row because I was sucking at my job. So I know that. So don't try to turn the tables on me. I've been there before. Second of all, my client should know, is this performance related? Now, listen, everyone improves. Everyone gets second, third chances. But people look backwards, and they're going to look at your resume and say, hey, listen, what happened a couple of years back when you had this run of short stints? But position it in a way where it's not putting them on the total defensive, but putting it in, let's have a chat about this. Hey, I'd love to learn a little bit more about the last couple of years about your career trajectory. Right? You have to spin it in a way where you're not putting them on the hot seat. And that takes EQ.
100%. Love it. How have you developed your ability to ask good questions?
Oh, man. I mean, it kind of went side. I've done the POZcast for 3 years, and I think it coincided. My skill set in interviewing candidates and my skill set in interviewing people on the POZcast, it just drove it up exponentially. I mean, I've honed my craft as a podcaster, and you could see it as a guest here. And I'm even trying to toot my own horn. I'm a really good guest, and the best podcasters make the best guests on other shows. I'm not sitting here trying to rattle off my selling points and sell you my book. I'm just shooting the shit with you, man.
Absolutely. What have you found is the biggest reason as a recruiter that people look for jobs?
I mean, usually it's because it's again, one of two reasons. They need to make more money, or they hate their freaking job, or they're not getting it. They don't have a clear path of advancement. There's a lot of conversations where people are like, listen, I really like my job. I'm at a small company. I'm a director. There's a VP above me. She's not going anywhere for the next 10 years. I have to look elsewhere. They're not creating another VP role. You have to understand the reasons.
Yeah, I love that. What percentage of the people that you work with do you feel have a good EQ?
That's a tough one, man. I give the benefit of the doubt to most people. I think, relatively 60, I'm going to be concerned, 60 to 70% of people have a pretty good EQ. And it's hard to give a real gauge of that on a half-hour call with somebody, but I'm just spitballing here, but I could also tell when people are just, another kind of judge of that too is preparation. I think that, if you go into a call as a candidate and you're not prepared, you didn't take a moment to even listen, man, if you can't find 5 minutes when you're on the crapper to look at a website, that's low EQ, man. That means you don't give a shit about my time. You're not valuing somebody's time. And that drops a notch in my book.
Absolutely.
Don't waste my time. Don't ever waste my time.
Yeah.
I don't waste other people's time. I make a very strong conscious effort of other people's time. And I hold my time in the highest regard. And if you disrespect my time, not good.
Yeah, 100%. Absolutely. No, that's exactly right. What advice would you give to somebody that needs to work on their EQ?
Find somebody close to you that you admire and respect and the way they do things, and just observe them. And maybe, hey, Noble, like, could we go grab a cup of coffee? There's a couple of things that, if you don't mind, there's a friend I'd like to just talk to you about. You have to take that first step and be proactive. It's not going to just come to you. You have to be proactive in life. People sit on the sidelines and think shit's just going to come to them. You have to make your own opportunities in every aspect.
I love what you did. Just even that, just piggybacking on that point, when you were in your valley, that dark phase there, when we got fired,
Yeah.
and you had 90 days. It sounded like, that you were kind of in this kind of dark spot. But what was fascinating, you said that even in that dark phase, one of the things that you did that I think contributed to you getting out of that dark phase was you said that you set up appointments with other recruiters to start learning about recruiting. And I think that from as an outsider, it seemed like that was something that may have helped you get out of that dark phase.
Yeah, so I've been through this before, and I knew that during my dark phase that I needed to be organized and be systematic and methodical to at least put structure around getting out of it, and that included focusing my time and energy on things that I needed to do to move the needle forward, and that was doing my due diligence before I jumped into recruiting. So it was reaching out to recruiters that I've worked with and doing coffee chats, going into the city, taking them out for lunch, having those conversations. And they were so generous with their time. I mean, I literally learned everything I could, the good, the bad, the ugly, the roller coaster of recruiting before I stepped foot in it. Right. I mean, I didn't know it until I got into the shit. Right. Same thing with the military, right? Like, you hear stories from friends and family, but until you get into basic, you have no clue what you're getting into. Right. It's the same. It's a battle, man. Listen, us recruiters, we battle every day. I mean, when you're any type of sales job, you're battling.
What process do you have to get yourself through valleys?
I listen, there's valleys all the time. I think it's knowing that there's confidence in your abilities, right? Listen, there's good months, bad weeks, good days, bad days. Just always knowing that the day is going to end and there's always going to be a new day. You're gonna have a clean slate tomorrow. And I learned that early on in recruiting. There was a really tough time for me early on where I lost a couple of deals early. And one of my mentors said to me, is, listen, you could be pissed off all day long. You have every right to be. But guess what? That deal is gone. So when you walk out of this office, the minute before you open the door to your house, that has to be gone and done, and know that it's not coming back, and don't take that shit home with you. Tomorrow's a new day. Get back at it. Easier said than done. Believe me, we all been there before, right? Yeah. Okay. I just lost $60,000 in commission for X, Y, and Z reasons. You mean to tell me I can't be pissed off about this tomorrow? You got to do your best, man, because it's not coming back. Nothing you can do about it. It's out the window.
Yeah, I love
Train
it.
has left the station.
Yeah, that's right. What are some of your personal and professional boundaries?
Yeah, and I think boundaries. Let's talk about that for a second here. I think boundaries are the most important thing to help protect your mental health. You need to create boundaries. You need to create family time boundaries. You need to create personal space boundaries. And especially now in the last 2.5 years, when pretty much everybody has been working remote, we've also become accessible 24/7 because we've created this monster ourselves. We're replying to emails at 7, 8 o'clock at night. We're replying to emails at 6:58 in the morning, the second your alarm goes off and you're looking at your phone. So you know what? People learn to expect that. I'm going to email Noble at 7 a.m. and I bet you this guy's going to respond to me by 7:15 a.m. because he's trained. You have to set boundaries. You have to set personal boundaries. You have to set expectation boundaries. You have to set standards. I'm a big believer in personal and professional standards. There are lines that I don't cross. There's ethics that I uphold. There's making sure I close loops, manage expectations with my clients and my candidates. And I teach that to the people that work on my team. You have to under promise, over deliver, and manage expectations. Those are my pillars. And those are table setter, those are deal breakers right there. And you have to keep your ethics up. I mean, there's a big problem in recruiting why recruiters get a bad name, right? Because everyone kind of defers to those shitty experiences, those sharks, those used car salesmen out there. So we got to do a better job of making our industry better. Starts with boundaries and standards.
That's awesome. How did you develop and set those boundaries personally and professionally?
Yeah, I mean, it started with me early. I mean, luckily, 22 years old, first job out of school, working in an ad agency. I learned from a great mentor, Karen Wertheim, who taught me those boundaries. She taught me how to really do things the right way by mistake, trial and error. She gave me enough rope to hang myself, you know what I mean? And I had to learn, but those things are etched into my, core DNA. And it's a default. I mean, it's automatic. I mean, this is the way I practice business. And I think, again, it goes back to anyone out there who doesn't think they're going down the right path. Find people who you admire and respect and align with them. You'd be surprised how many people are going to be generous with their time, but
That's
also
awesome.
Respect their time. If someone's going to give you your time for mentorship, you have to be a good mentee. I'm telling you, I mean, I've fired mentees before.
What do you look for in a mentor?
Someone who is at or has been in a position that I aspire to and has done it the right way in my eyes. Simple as that. And someone who has been generous before with their time with other people. There's a huge responsibility as a mentee, and you have to take it seriously. You have to give as much as you get. You have to give. And it may not always be proportional, and that's fine. But you'd be surprised as a mentor how much we get from giving and we learn about ourselves. And it kind of reinforces our values. Like the more I talk about the good things that I do, I work with the younger folks on my team, right? And I'm like, all right, well, I'm telling them some good shit. I could see it in their eyes and it's working because they're putting it into practice. Kind of reassures my own thing.
And what do you look for in a mentee?
Eagerness, openness. Somebody's going to listen. Someone's not going to talk over me when I'm trying to tell them shit. Yeah. And it's aptitude. It's aptitude and attitude. Those two things. Desire.
That's great. Okay. Couple things wrapping up here. What resources have been the most helpful for you along your personal and professional growth journey?
Resources. That's a good one. Networking is key. So I think LinkedIn is tremendous. I've formed some incredible relationships, some incredible personal and professional relationships on LinkedIn, which is sometimes a tough place for newbies because you're swimming with the sharks. Everyone's trying to sell you shit, right? You got to be good there. That's a tremendous tool. Local meetups or networking groups, organizations. There's so many good ones out there. I mean, I have friends that have started incredible local business groups or local businesses. That's tremendous. Hang out at a coffee shop. Just listen. Put your ear to the ground.
That's great. Any books that you've either read or have written?
Yeah, well, I haven't written a book. I actually did write a book. I wrote a chapter in a book about my mentors in Scott McGregor's book. I'll link that up to you afterwards. That's actually, I talk about each one of my mentors throughout my career, what they provided at the time. I have it over there somewhere. I'll link it up to you afterwards. And honestly, man, I don't read. I have two little kids. I used to read a lot more. I have a list. I need to read Atomic Habits. There's a whole bunch of things, but I need to get back into reading a lot. I'll be honest. I am not an avid reader, and I need to be. I consume through osmosis. I learn. I listen. That's how I learn.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's been evident just talking to you a little bit that I have so far is just you are clearly a massive avid learner, which again is I feel like is a huge aspect to your success. It sounds like you're constantly learning. You're right, like you said, you're constantly
You
consuming.
have to be.
That's awesome.
But I haven't always been this way. I wasn't always a great learner because I didn't listen. And I think I have to be from a business perspective. I mean, I'm pivoting my Web 2 recruiting business, and I'm opening up a Web 3 recruiting business called Probably Nothing Talent, which you alluded to in the opening. And it's a whole new world built upon my Web 2 experience, but I have to learn this new world. And if that's what I'm getting into, I mean, listen, I'm freaking flying this plane as I build it, man. And that's what you got to do. I can't be an expert in something if I wait to learn everything I can. I just have to get into it and be a practitioner.
Love
and
it.
I'll become an expert by learning, man.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Love it. So how do we find you? How do we follow you? How do we connect with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So all things recruiting for now, you could go to nhptalentgroup.com. You connect with me on LinkedIn at Adam J. Posner, based in New York here. And you can certainly check out the POZcast at thepozcast.com and check out some great episodes and conversations with good folks like yourself.
Thanks, Big Adam. You rock like ZZ Top, bro. That was awesome.
That's how we do it.